After 9 years alone, I've worked out that loneliness isn't one thing. It's five things wearing the same word, and that's why the usual advice fails. I'm Walter, 82, retired carpenter, 9 years on my own since I lost my Helen. If you've been around people all day and come home lonelier, you already know what I mean. Start with number one and stay for number four, the one that has nothing to do with other people at all. Number one. The first kind is the plain one, and it's the one everybody thinks is the whole business. There is nobody in the room. That's it. Nothing complicated in it. You want a voice and there isn't one. You want somebody at the table and the chair is empty. And it is exactly as simple and as unpleasant as it sounds. And I'll say something that may surprise you about this one. It's the easiest of the five, because almost any human being will fix it, at least for a while. It doesn't have to be somebody who knows you. The girl at the counter in the hardware store will do. The fellow at the diner on a Saturday who talks about the road commission for 11 minutes. A cashier. A neighbor at the end of a driveway. I did not believe that for about 2 years. I had it in my head that only real company counted, a proper conversation with somebody who mattered, and that anything less was a poor substitute not worth bothering with. That was wrong, and it cost me. Because the plain kind of loneliness is a physical sort of hunger, and it takes ordinary food. You do not need a feast. You need a face, a voice, and 11 minutes about the road commission, which is the whole argument for doing your own shopping. Errands are not errands when you live alone. They're the meal. If you're walking this road alone, subscribe, so you don't have to walk it alone. All right, number two. Number two, the second kind is being the only one left who remembers. And this one arrives late. You don't get it at 40. You get it somewhere past 75, and it caught me completely off guard because I had no name for it, and nobody had ever mentioned it to me. Here's what it is. There are things I know that no living person can confirm. I know what the mill in Millinocket smelled like on a wet morning in 1949, because I was a boy standing outside it waiting for my father. Every man who was inside that building is dead. My father's been gone since I was 23. My mother went in the 80s, my brother in 2011. I know exactly how Helen laughed at 25, which was different from how she laughed at 60. Her sister Margaret is gone. Nearly everybody who knew her at 25 is gone. I can tell you what this road looked like when there were 4 working farms on it, and now there are none. And I am, as far as I can work out, the last person on it who saw that. Now here's the part that makes it a kind of loneliness rather than just a fact about being old. When you say a thing out loud and somebody says yes, that's how a memory stays real. That's the whole mechanism. You say, "Do you remember that winter?" And somebody says, "God, yes." And between the two of you, the thing is confirmed, and it sits solidly in the world. Take away everybody who could say yes, and your own past starts to feel like something you might have invented. And that is a very particular sort of alone, and it has nothing whatever to do with how many people are in the room. In fact, it's often worse when the room is full. That's the peculiar thing about number two. And it catches people at Christmas and at weddings and at every family gathering there is. I had it badly at a Thanksgiving about 4 years ago. 12 people in this house, both my children, their families, the whole crowd, more noise in these rooms than there'd been since the 90s. A genuinely good day, and I mean that. And somewhere in the middle of it, sitting at the head of a full table, I was as lonely as I'd been all year, because every person in that room had known me for a limited stretch. My grandchildren know an old man in Maine. My son and daughter know a father, and they know a good deal, and even they don't know what I was like at 30. Not really, they were small. They've got a child's version. Not one person at that table had known me as a young man. Not one of them ever met my father. Nobody there could have picked Helen at 25 out of a photograph without being told. 12 people who loved me, and not one witness in the building. I got up and went out to the shop for about 10 minutes, which I've never admitted to anybody until now, and stood in the cold with the light off. So if that's happened to you, If you've been at a table full of your own family and felt something you couldn't explain, and then felt ashamed of feeling it, there's nothing the matter with you. You were experiencing kind 2 in the middle of a crowd, and the crowd was the wrong medicine, and there was no medicine in that room at all. The remedy isn't more people. The remedy is a record and 1 or 2 of the old ones, if you've still got any. So what do you do about it? Because this one has a remedy, and I found it late. You write it down. That's the whole answer. And I'd have thought it was thin if somebody had told me. It isn't thin. There's a hardbound notebook in the desk drawer in the front room. Started in the 3rd winter for a different reason. I'd found I couldn't hear Helen's voice anymore, and I panicked about it and started writing down her phrases before they went. 60 odd of them now. But it turned into something else. Now it's got the mill in it. It's got the 4 farms and who had them. It's got what my father said to me 2 days before he died, which is a sentence I've carried for 59 years and which will now outlast me. And I've been reading about this for a good while. I keep the clippings in a drawer out in the workshop. And one thing I came across put it plainly enough that I copied it out. It said the difference between a memory and a record is that a memory needs a witness and a record doesn't. That's it exactly. The notebook is a witness that can't die. My granddaughter Lily gets that notebook. She knows it and she's read some of it. And she asks about the mill now, which is a thing I never expected anybody to ask me about again. That doesn't bring back the men who worked in it. But it means the mill on a wet morning in 1949 will be in this world after I'm not. And that has taken something off me that I'd been carrying without knowing. And I'd say to anybody past 75 who recognizes this, start the notebook badly. Don't wait until you've thought of a good system, because you'll wait forever and lose things in the meantime. I started mine with 11 entries and thought I'd been robbed. The other 50 arrived one at a time over 4 years, ambushing me. At a sink, out in the shop, halfway through a Tuesday. Write them anyway. A thing in ink stops being a thing that can be lost. Before the next one, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and how old you are. Just the town and the number. I'd like to see how far this reaches. And I think a good many of you will be surprised how many others are out there at the same age, doing the same thing on the same evening. I read every single comment, and I answer as many as these old hands allow. And if this is helping you, that thumbs up tells YouTube to show it to somebody else sitting alone tonight. Number 3, the 3rd kind is not being needed by anything. And this one gets confused with the first one constantly, and the confusion is expensive because the remedy for the first one does absolutely nothing for the 3rd. Here's how you tell them apart. The first kind is fixed by company. You spend an afternoon with somebody and it lifts. The 3rd kind does not lift. You can have a perfectly good afternoon with people who love you and come home, and there's still something sitting there that the afternoon did not touch. That's the 3rd kind. And what it actually is the sense that nothing anywhere requires you. That if you didn't get up tomorrow, not one thing in the world would need rearranging. I had that badly in the 3rd year, which was the hardest year I've had, harder than the first by a good distance. And I could not work out why company wasn't helping, and I concluded that there was something wrong with me. There wasn't. I was taking the wrong medicine. Because what a man in that condition needs is not somebody to spend time with. It's somebody who is worse off if he doesn't turn up. And those are entirely different things. My son ringing me on a Sunday is company. A woman of 91 down this road who gets a jar of soup on a Sunday afternoon and would go without if I didn't come. That's the other thing. And it does a job that 50 phone calls will not do. Her name is Dot. She taught both my children in the 4th grade. She's been in that house on her own since 1998, and she does not get out. And I want to be honest about the direction of that arrangement, because it looks like charity from the outside, and it is nothing of the kind. She gives me an hour of a woman who remembers this town in 1943, which, if you were listening to number 2, you'll understand is worth a great deal to me. And she gives me the fact of being expected. Somebody in this county is disappointed if my truck doesn't come down that road on a Sunday. That's the cure for the 3rd kind, and it is the only one I've found. not company. Obligation. Something with a claim on you. It needn't be a person. A feeder in January will do it. There are birds out that kitchen window whose winter is measurably worse if I don't get out of my chair. And that is a real thing that is really true, and on some February mornings it has been what got me up. But it has to be something that suffers if you don't. That's the whole specification. Ornamental won't work. It has to be able to hold a grudge. Now, there's a thing about the third kind that I got wrong for a long while, and I'd like to save somebody the same detour. I thought the answer was to be useful in a large way. That's a man's instinct, or it was mine. I'd spent 45 years being useful at scale, 60-odd houses in this county, a crew, a business that fed a family. And when that stopped, I assumed that whatever replaced it had to be substantial or it wouldn't count. So in the fourth year, I looked into volunteering, properly, made inquiries, went to a meeting, sat in a room with 15 people and a woman with a clipboard. And I never went back, and I felt like a failure about it for months. Here's what I understand now. There was nothing wrong with the organization and nothing wrong with me. The trouble was that being one of 40 people on a roster is not the same as being needed, and my body knew it even though my head thought it ought to count. Nobody there would have noticed if I hadn't come. Somebody else would have done the thing. That's not a criticism. That's what a well-run outfit is supposed to look like. But it does not fix the third kind of loneliness, because the third kind is not fixed by doing good. It's fixed by being irreplaceable to somebody, however small the somebody and however small the thing. Dot has one person who brings soup on a Sunday. If I don't come, nobody comes. That's the difference, and it is the whole difference. Small and irreplaceable beats large and interchangeable every time for this particular purpose. I've watched that work the other way around on men who had a great deal more going on than I have. A fellow I knew was on 3 committees and a church board and was as spare as a man can be, because every one of those had 11 other people on it, and not one of them would have been stuck without him. And I'd add, you probably already have one of these and haven't recognized it. There's usually somebody within a few miles who is worse off than you are and has fewer people, and the reason you haven't thought of them is that you've been thinking of yourself as the one who needs help. You are and they are. Both things are true, and there's no contradiction in it. The arrangement runs in both directions, and that's exactly what makes it work. I have said before on this channel that a relationship where one party is always the recipient is not a relationship, it's a condition. Go and be necessary to one person this week. Not helpful, necessary. There's a difference, and you'll feel it by Sunday. There's one more thing about number 3 that I want to put in, because it's the version that catches men who are still perfectly capable, and it caught me. Being needed and being useful are not the same, and I spent about 2 years being useful. I fix things. That's what I do. I fixed a porch for the young family down this road. I put a leg on a kitchen chair for a woman at the church. I planned a door for somebody whose husband used to do that sort of thing and doesn't anymore because he's gone. All good, all genuinely wanted, and none of it touched the third kind at all, and I could not work out why. Here's why. Every one of those was a job with an end on it. I did the porch was done, and then I was a man with nothing required of him again, only now I'd used up the porch. What actually fixes number 3 is not a job. It's a standing arrangement, something that comes round again. Sunday soup comes round every Sunday. The feeder wants filling every few days all winter. The letters to Lily want answering because another one always arrives. Those don't get used up. So if you've been doing favors and wondering why you still feel spare, that's the difference. A favor ends. Look for the thing that repeats, and it wants to be small enough that you'll manage it in February, which is when all of this is actually tested. Anybody can be needed in June. That's the test I'd apply to any arrangement of this kind before you take it on. Not whether it's worthwhile, whether you'll still be doing it on the 11th of February in a bad winter with the road half plowed. If the honest answer is no, make it smaller. A thing you do every week for 9 years beats a thing you do magnificently for 5 months. And I'd say that about most of what I've learned since I turned 75. We're one away from the one I promised you. Number 4, the kind that has nothing to do with other people. Stay with me. Number 4, The fourth kind of loneliness is being lonely for yourself. Now I know how that sounds, and I'd have laughed at it at 60, so let me tell you exactly what happened to me and you can decide. This was year 5. And by year 5, I had, by any reasonable measure, sorted myself out. I had the mornings. I had the shop by 9. I had 5 people I spoke to every week. My son on a Sunday, my daughter on a Thursday, a granddaughter I wrote letters to, a neighbor who came for coffee, a widow I had lunch with once a month. The house was warm, I was eating properly, I'd got the days into decent order. And I was still lonely, and I could not for the life of me tell you why. That's a demoralizing place to be. Because when you're plainly isolated, at least the problem makes sense. When you've done all the work and it still isn't right, you start to think the fault is in you. Here's what it turned out to be, and it took my daughter about 6 words. She was up for a weekend in the spring. We were at that kitchen table on the Sunday morning, and out of nowhere she asked me, "Pop, are you happy?" And I opened my mouth to answer her, and nothing came out. Not because it was a hard question to answer honestly, because I did not know. I had genuinely no idea. I had not asked myself anything of that sort in about 9 years, and when somebody finally put it to me, I found there was nobody home to answer. I sat with that for a long while after she'd gone, and what I worked out is this. For 9 years I had been managing. Every waking hour had a task in it. Getting through the day, filling the day, building the day, keeping the arrangement running. And a man who is managing does not have any acquaintance with himself. He's too busy running the operation to ever ask the operator how he's getting on. I had become a stranger to myself. That's the fourth kind, and it is not solved by people. And here's the part that makes it the one nobody expects. More company makes it worse. Because company is the easiest place in the world to hide from yourself. You go out, you talk about the weather and the road and somebody's grandson, you come home tired, and the whole of the day has gone by without 1 minute of your own interior. And you can do that for years. I've known men who have done it for decades, never alone for an hour, and completely unacquainted with themselves, and lonely in a way that no amount of company touches, because company is what they're using to avoid it. So the cure for the fourth kind is the opposite of the cure for the first. And that's precisely why the word doing the work of 5 words does so much damage. The first kind wants people. The fourth kind wants an hour with nobody in it. Now, this is only a carpenter's opinion, and I'd say plainly that if what you're carrying is heavier than what I'm describing, if it doesn't shift at all and hasn't for a long stretch, that's a matter for your doctor, and not for an old man on the internet. I'm not qualified, and I'd not pretend to be. What I can tell you is what worked for me. I leave the middle of the day empty, deliberately. Between about 1 and 3 most afternoons, there is nothing scheduled and nothing required, and I don't fill it. That's the whole discipline, and it took me the better part of a year to stop fighting it. I stand at the wood rack with my hand on a board for 20 minutes. I walk the north line and look at a wall. I sit on the stool by the shop window and look at the yard. And if you asked me afterward what I'd thought about, I very often couldn't tell you. I tested this on myself for 3 whole months before I'd have told anybody about it, because it felt like idleness, and I was raised to be suspicious of idleness. It isn't idleness. Idleness is what you're doing when you're avoiding something. This is the opposite. It's the only part of the day when there's nothing between me and my own thinking. And here's what came out of it over about a year. I found out what I actually thought about several things I'd been carrying unexamined for decades. My father, in a good deal of anger at him, I had never once looked at directly. The graduation of my sons in 1989 that I didn't go to. And the real reason, which was not the job. What I want the rest of this to look like. None of that got worked out in company. Every bit of it got worked out standing in a doorway in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon with nothing on. Helen used to say, "I never do anything halfway." And she was right about this too. I spent 9 years being thorough about everything in my life except the man living it. Now, I want to be careful about one thing here, because I've just told you that the cure for the fourth kind is solitude. And I've spent 9 years telling anyone who'd listen that isolation is what kills old men. Both of those are true, and they are not in conflict. And the difference between them is the most important distinction I know. Solitude is an hour you chose, inside a life that has people in it. Isolation is what you've got when there are no hours you didn't choose. Same quiet, completely different substance. And you can tell which one you're in by one question. Is there anybody who'd notice by Thursday? If the answer is yes, then an empty afternoon is medicine. If the answer is no, then that same afternoon is the disease, and what you need is not more of it. I had a friend named Frank who lost his wife 4 years before I lost mine. Same town, near enough the same age, same trade, and Frank had a great deal of quiet in the last 2 years of his life, and not 1 hour of it was solitude, because there was nobody on the other side of it. He died at 76, and it was a while before anybody knew. So the fourth kind is a rich man's problem, in a sense. You have to have built the rest of it first. An empty hour only does its work if it sits inside a full week. That's why it's fourth on this list and not first. If you're in the first year and you're isolated, do not take this particular medicine. Go and find a face. The fourth kind can wait and it will keep. There's a second thing about number 4 that I'd not expected and that I think is the most useful part. Once I'd got acquainted with myself again, I became better company. That sounds like a paradox, and it isn't. In year 5, I was seeing my 5 people regularly, and I'm fairly sure, a bit of a chore. I had nothing to say. I'd been managing all week, and there was no interior to report on. So the conversations were the weather and the road, and somebody's grandson, and my son was driving 2 hours for that. Now I've got something going on in me. I've been thinking about my father, or about a thing I read, or about a question I can't settle. And a man with something going on in him is worth talking to. And the calls got better, measurably, and David has said so. So the empty hour is not selfish, and it isn't withdrawal. It's the only place a man produces anything worth bringing to the people who love him. An old fellow with nothing but a schedule is poor company for anyone, including himself. And I was that man for 2 years without knowing it. And here's the practical form, because abstraction is no use to anybody on a Tuesday. You don't need an hour to start. 20 minutes will do, and 20 minutes is the amount a man can defend against his own objections. No radio, no paper, nothing with a voice in it. That's the only rule I've found that matters, and it took me a while to work out why. A voice in the room takes the exact place your own thinking would go, and it doesn't matter whether it's a program you like or the news, or somebody talking about a subject you find genuinely interesting. If there's a voice, you're not alone with yourself. You're in company that can't hear you. Hands are allowed, which surprised me. A fire counts. It wants attention every few minutes and makes a small amount of noise, and neither stops you thinking. Sanding counts. Walking counts. And I'd tell you what the first 20 minutes are like so you're not caught out, because mine were bad and I nearly stopped. Everything you've been out running arrives at once, and it arrives with interest because it's been waiting. That's not a sign the exercise is going wrong. That's the exercise. And it settles. Not in the first sitting, but it settles. And after a few weeks, the 20 minutes stops being a toll and starts being the part of the day you defend if somebody tried to take it. I asked the young librarian in town to help me find everything they had on this, back in year 5, when I was trying to work out what was wrong with me. I don't think I described what I wanted at all well, because I hadn't the words for it then. What I came away with was mostly about attention rather than loneliness. And one line stayed with me. It said a mind never left alone doesn't get quieter. It gets louder because whatever it was trying to say goes on saying it, only underneath. That was the closest anybody came to describing my year 5. And I'd say the last thing about this one plainly, because it's the reason I put it at number 4 and made you wait for it. The reason people don't believe in this kind is that it doesn't feel like loneliness. It feels like restlessness or dissatisfaction or a low gray flatness on a Tuesday when nothing is wrong. Nobody names that loneliness. You name it a mood or getting old or February. It is loneliness. It's the specific loneliness of a man who hasn't spoken to himself in 9 years. And every hour of company you throw at it will bounce straight off, and you'll conclude that company doesn't work, and you'll be right and wrong at the same time. If Susan asked me that question at this table tomorrow, I'd have an answer. That's the whole of what the fourth one bought me, and I'd not trade it for another 50 phone calls. Number 5. And the fifth kind is the one that has no cure, and I've saved it for last because everything I've said tonight is wrong if you don't understand this one. The fifth kind is missing one particular person, not people, not company, not being known, not being needed, not being acquainted with yourself. One specific woman who is not in this house and is not coming back to it. And there is no remedy for it. None. I want to say that plainly because I think a great deal of harm is done by pretending otherwise. You cannot fix it with friends. You cannot fix it with a busy calendar. You cannot fix it with a garden or a dog or a volunteer position or any of the sensible things people suggest. And every one of those suggestions comes from a good place and none of them touch it. I have 5 people I speak to every week in a shop full of work and a life I've built with my own hands over 9 years. And last Tuesday at about 4:30 in the afternoon, I wanted to tell my wife something about a piece of cherry, and she wasn't there, and nothing in the world could be done about it. That's it. That's the fifth kind. It doesn't get better and it doesn't go away, and after 9 years, it is exactly what it was. Now here's why it matters that I've put it on the list. Because for years I was trying to cure it. That was the mistake, and it's the mistake I most want to spare somebody. I'd have a bad Tuesday, and I'd think, right, I need to see more people. Or I need a project. Or I need to get out more. And I'd do those things. And they'd help with kinds 1 and 3, and they would do absolutely nothing for the thing that was actually bothering me. And I'd conclude that I was failing at this. I wasn't failing. I was applying remedies to a thing that isn't a wound. Because here's what I finally understood, and it took 9 years. That ache is not a problem in my life. It's the shape of a good marriage after one of the 2 people has gone. I was married 54 years to a woman I liked enormously. If I could stand in this kitchen at 4:30 on a Tuesday and not want to tell her about a piece of cherry, that wouldn't mean I was healthy. It would mean the 54 years hadn't amounted to much. The missing is the receipt. It's the proof. And I'd not want a version of myself that had got over it. I've thought about that quite deliberately in the way a man does at 82 when he's got the time. If there were a pill that took it away, I wouldn't have it. Because what would be left is a man married 54 years who doesn't particularly notice she's gone, and I'd not want to be introduced to him. So I don't try to cure it anymore. When it comes, and it comes most days in some form, I let it be there for as long as it wants, and I get on with the afternoon. And I'll tell you what happened when I stopped fighting it, which is the only thing I've got that resembles good news about number 5. It got easier to carry. Not smaller, easier. Because most of what was heavy about it was not the missing. It was the struggling and the failing, and the private verdict I was handing down on myself every time the remedies didn't work. Put down the struggling, and what's left is a man who loved his wife and still does. That's not an affliction. That's just the truth about him. And I'd say one more thing about number 5. To the people around somebody in it, the sons and daughters, the neighbors, anybody who watches an old person miss somebody and wants to help. You can't. Not with that one. And the trying is where it goes wrong. Because what people do from the best possible motive is try to fill it. They suggest things. They organize things. They point out gently that it's been a good while now and that he might feel better if he got out more. And every one of those carries a message underneath that he hears perfectly clearly. This ought to be over. It isn't over. It won't be. And an old man who's told often enough that he ought to be past it will simply stop mentioning it. And then you've lost the only thing you could actually have offered, which is this. Let him talk about her. That's the entire remedy for number 5. And it isn't a remedy at all. It's just company for a thing that can't be fixed. Ask about her. Use her name. Say the thing you remember about her, if you're old enough to remember anything. My son does it now. He didn't for the first 3 years. He thought he was sparing me. Last spring, he told me something she'd said to him when he was 19 that I'd never heard in my life. And I wrote it in the notebook that night. And it's one of the 60. That did more for me than any amount of getting out more. There's nothing to fix. There's just a man who'd like to be allowed to have been married for 54 years out loud, occasionally without anybody looking worried about him. And I'll say the last of it to whoever's in the first year tonight, because you're the one this is hardest on. In the first year, all 5 of these arrive at once and you cannot tell them apart, and that's not a failing of yours. Nobody can the first time through. It's simply an enormous, undifferentiated weight, and every bit of it goes by the same name. They separate. That's the good news, and it's the only good news I've got. Somewhere around the 3rd year, which was the hardest of mine by a distance, they start coming apart into things you can look at individually. And a weight you can look at individually is a weight you can do something about, at least 4/5 of it. I could not have made this list at 40. I could not have made it at 78. It took 9 years in a quiet house, and I'd not recommend the course of study to anybody. But if you're in it anyway, and a good many of you are, then you may as well have the map that came out of it. So, 5 kinds. Nobody in the room which any face will ease. Being the only one left who remembers, which wants a written record. Not being needed, which wants an obligation that can hold a grudge. Being a stranger to yourself, which wants an empty hour and not more company. And missing one person, which wants nothing at all except to be allowed. 4 of those have answers. One of them isn't a question. And the single most useful thing I've learned in 9 years is to stop and ask which one I've actually got tonight. Because I spent about 6 of those years taking the wrong medicine and thinking the medicine was the problem. I'm 82. The house is quiet and the fire's going, and there's a 3rd drawer to fit in the morning. I know exactly which kind I've got tonight. It's the 5th one, as it generally is on a Tuesday, and there's nothing to be done about it, and nothing needs doing. That's the whole of the progress after 9 years. Not that it stopped, that I know its name. And a thing with a name is a great deal easier to sit in a room with than a thing without one. If tonight is one of the ones where the trouble is that nobody's coming, kind 1, or kind 3, then I made another talk about exactly that, about the 5 people I speak to every single week and the 5 completely different jobs they do. That's the practical one. It's right there on the screen. The kettle's still warm. I'll see you there.